Charlie Munger is a respectable investor with Warren Buffett as a vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. I was interested in him because I happened to do more investment at my older age. This actually happened when I was about 50 years ago, when I was investing and lost some money, and I was not so happy about it. Then I stopped investing much, and later, as I aged and realized the accumulation of some asset, I decided to put some money first with the advisors, outside advisors, but I was not so happy about that. So I started to do my own everything. And because of the pain I had losing some money at earlier time, I decided to study a lot. And the Charlie Munger had a book called Poor Charlie's Almanac, and I studied that, and I watched on the YouTube mostly about his philosophy, because he's now at the 97 years old and has a very good track record of investing, and the style is not to buy and sell, but to keep it for a long time when you find a very good investment. And his appearance on the YouTube and the philosophy ideas that he shared had lots of interesting points. So most of my videos I post here is related to the spiritual pursuit, or how to be wise and compassionate and have a peaceful, happy life. I understood that his approach has lots of elements, and the approach proposed by those spiritual pursuit and trying to get more wisdom in life, he also seemed to have studied a lot from many books and from other examples, the references he's got, so that his approach was based upon not just the financial part of the business, but all aspects of knowing more about human behavior, because stock market is related to using our mind and even psychological aspect of human behavior well, so that you are not swung by the emotion at the time as much as knowing how human emotion may swing those investment idea, and often even cause lots of misery because of the unpreparedness, as much as I have lost some money early in my life. In fact, one of his famous saying is that if you want to live well, don't go to the dangerous spot where you may die. It's a simple principle, and that's just one interesting phase to capture his way of not just investment, but living life. There are many wonderful quotes that I can think of, and I also posted a YouTube video called Charlie Munger's Wisdom, but this is another one of my video about him, so I can enrich further from my understanding of his behavior, the wisdom, and how it may be connected to, like I have mentioned in other videos about the calm and quiet mind, expect unexpected, things of that nature. So there's a lot of relationship to the spiritual pursuit, because at the end, whatever we do, whether it's investment or living our life, we want to have some self-restraint. And he used the word rational thinking. And I wasn't quite sure about what the word rational thinking may mean, but I understand the conceptually, but still, what does he mean by that? And then I realized there are lots of things common with the spiritual part of my understanding of how the Buddha or Christ may have developed those compassionate sense or wisdom to live our life. I repeat, when he said, if you want to live a good life, don't go near the dangerous spot. That's a very simple saying, but my interpretation is that keep your calm and quiet mind, understand who you are, know thyself, and reach out to your deeper consciousness, but not to be caught up in your small mind. The mind has limitation, so as much as investment requires very good judgment, so that it's not just the thinking part, but also connect to the deeper part of your consciousness, so that you can have a calm and quiet mind to make a good judgment. That's the very point that I found it quite interesting. And my track record is in investment probably has enhanced quite a bit. Also because Charlie Munger mentions the importance of being able to see things from different angle. I posted the video about triangulation, the same idea. Not just if you have a hammer, you know, they're saying that everything looks like a nail. And that's the only one dimension idea of using the skill. But you want to be multiple in the sense of viewing the world and synthesize those. I forgot what he says about the specific word, but he was referring to the fact that there are lots of specialists who may know things, but sometimes they don't practice a good judgment. And I know that because I have worked as a management consulting business, and in doing so, I noticed that there's a silo syndrome, that each department has its own view, but there's often lack of understanding of connection with others, so that there's a barrier between one department or unit to the other. So my job was to find a way to connect with each other, that people understand that it's not just your business, you need to be connected with your customers. So horizontal connection, not just the vertical connection of the power orientation, the structure. So as much as organization is the representation of us, and if we are used to that narrow set of mind to focus on certain things, not being able to synthesize with others, that certainly create a problem. And my work is very much connected to such a view that each element has to have a good understanding of connecting to others, so that the reason of existence and the success of that each element has a broader implication of the organizational success. I use the word mini company, so that it's not locally optimizing, but everyone is contributing to satisfy the customers and work with the suppliers, internal or external, and be able to have that self-managing principle, empowered and be accountable for what he does, such that the whole organization is functioning very in a dynamic manner altogether. So that's a different view than more specific, professionally focused area, but not thinking of other as the customers or suppliers, so that you create the barrier. And that's in the organization, but in our mind construct or our construct, the mind and the rest of the whole existence related to the wisdom and connecting to that deeper part of the consciousness. We want to utilize everything we've got to live our life. So that's the kind of essence that he is portraying from his view, applied in investment, but also by understanding how he lives, related to other people, and enjoy and do whatever that he can control. But if it's beyond your control, you don't go too much into it. For example, his word is that the important thing about investment is to know the circle of competence. And actual practice, he says this, something like, I have 3 boxes. One is yes, the other one is no, and the third one is too difficult to understand. So the point he's saying is that you do what you know well, but not go far into the area that you may lose or get lost. So when it comes to the investment, you have yes, you do invest, or no, or others which are too difficult for him to understand. So admitting that area that you are not skillful, then be careful to get into that practice of investment. And certainly that applies to living our life. And for that reason, I see the connection between investing money and living life. Money sounds very focused, but again, it's not just looking at the money and the economics and all that, but there's a human behavior issue and all the rest of it that relate to your knowledge base, skill base, and everything about yourself, knowing yourself, and you can see through the event or the company's practice and bring in your skill in investment. So as much as investment requires such multidisciplined approach, life being approached should be approached in a multidisciplined way. As I may have mentioned, the same principle in the idea of the life profile. When we conduct the life, my approach was think about the work area, hobby area, relationship, health, and finance, as well as the view on how to live our life truthfully. Looking at those 6 elements, you can have more than 6 or focus on few, but utilizing some gauge to know what is that you do in various areas, and somehow life is to synthesize all those areas so that you're not unbalanced in making the judgment, but find the right passage to move forward. So all these elements point, he says, a common sense, but the common sense is quite often forgotten, and therefore he can practice better than other people who may be more possibly self-centered or one skill idea of investment but not understanding the human aspect of it, or be able to, whether or not you can control their emotion and not to be lopsided, not self-centered. But the approach to life is the same, that you should practice all you can with your skills and enhance the skill and go to the area that you are good at and manage your life better than not going to the area that you may be killed or damaged or you get lost. So simple, but it may not be easy to practice unless we learn the process. So I say one more thing to end this video. He said, And this is a wonderful idea that I picked up. What he said is that from early on in his life, he wanted to learn. And if he cannot change the habitual pattern, then the point is that you keep with that unskilled idea and not being able to learn. And if you have such a process of not learning, not figuring out to use the rational way of thinking, or to be wise, then the impact of that throughout your life as you age will be phenomenal. He used the word, I forgot, compounded interest or exponential impact, because if you keep improving 1%, 3% every year, the cumulative gain of that is multiplying every year, every 3% improvement to 3% another year, another 3%, whatever the percentage is, cumulatively can produce a phenomenal impact in terms of your skill moving forward. So even tying to the Zen thinking and also having a calm and quiet mind, if you cannot work on your delusion or habitual pattern of unable to control yourself and not addressing that cumulatively over time, the difference of what you could improve versus what you just improved, just doing whatever without improving the process of your life and not learning from that process will be phenomenal. So I'm almost age 73, and I believe I'm a student of life. There's no ending of it, and that is a pleasure if we see the improvement, no matter what age we are, but have this attention to our being and our behavior and be able to not go to the area where I may die or there's danger, and of course perhaps expect the unexpected and practice the calm and quiet mind and utilize all you've got, even the deeper part of unconsciousness, to know ourselves better. That skill will be applied, not just investment, but everything else in our life. That's my view. Maybe a little bit conceptual, but the meaning of this is pragmatic, to address the issues and keep learning. And the area that's not something you're familiar with, or we may have some stupid behavior pattern we cannot change, we better know that. As much as possible, we should try to improve such that our life, whether it's investment or anything else, that our life's process is based upon such simple but common sense, if you think about it, but being able to practice that. So let's think and behave differently such that we find the process of moving forward in our life is also representing those simple ideas that I mentioned here. And I appreciate Charlie Munger's comment. He's often fairly blunt and straightforward, yet by knowing what he has said and watched on the YouTube and reading the book, there's lots of wisdom in it. So hopefully we gain such a knowledge and not be living with a limited skill and doing this something repeatedly and not making any progress or making the same mistake over and over, but rather to learn and prosper and be happy. Thank you.